snaps in the snow, they know.
Is complete anarchy. It's randomness. It's a lot of mechanics pasting stickers somewhere on the car, and that is what makes these cars so strange. The car or the body of the car really has to follow aerodynamics completely. So it's all about aerodynamics, and the graphic design doesn't have to follow that. The cars were also redesigned all the time. If you were racing a car for more than one season, you had a new sponsor, you placed new logos on it, and there were different people working on that. There were no graphic designers involved. Most cars were really, designed, if you could say that, by mechanics or by sponsors or just by the race teams. In the 50s, there was Briggs Cunningham, an American race driver and technician, and he constructed a car and he wanted to race it at Le Mans. And he had this brilliant idea to place a blue stripe on a white car, and then the year after in Le Mans all cars were covered in stripes and different colors, and that was really the birth of the famous Go Faster stripe. Go Faster is a book about the graphic design of racing cars. It's about the moment when the three-dimensional object of a car and the two-dimensional graphics come together. They make these cars visually faster. They don't make them faster, but they look faster. So that's also where the title from the book comes from. Yeah, Go Faster. It's about looking faster, not really being faster. Just before the 70s, sponsors were allowed into racing. And then the national colors were dropped, and suddenly you had a Marlboro Ferrari or you had a Gulf Porsche. And I think that period of the 70s, when there were just very few sponsors, but very strong designs. And also the 70s, you had all these colorful furniture, and everything was flower power, and these cars were flower power too. I came up with the idea to use these small models and the models and the toy cars that I already had and I could easily collect, and I was just painting them all over white with chalk, and it was a very messy job, but then you could tell really what is the form of the car, and you could see what is the graphics and what is the difference between both, and which is aerodynamic, which is anti-aerodynamic, and what happens if you place numbers and lines and everything on that car, and also see the variations. You have one shape of a car, but you have different variations in different race cars. There's many really cool stories about some cars, but I think the best is really about the Pig, the short 917 version that was run in Le Mans, and it was made for Martini Racing. And when Sir Rossi, the head of Martini, when he saw that car, it was painted in pink like a pig in the butcher, and was covered all over with these names of shoulder and so on, and he said, no way, racing is a man's sport and we cannot run a pink car on the racetrack. And then he'd withdraw all the logos, all the Martini logos from the car. I think design has developed itself towards this amateurishness again. I think this kind of handmade and wrongness is really working well today. This is about a kind of a graphic competition that's going on. It's about which is the most beautiful, which is the most photographed car on a racetrack. That's different today. Today it's about which company, which brand has the most TV coverage. But back in the 70s it was like we have the coolest car. Ours looks most contemporary. Ours is the one that really draws attention. And that's very contemporary, actually. And today, graphic design is really, trying to follow that purpose. It tries to, draw attention. It tries to be different all the time. And, these cars are very different. They are all about difference. And they're all about clashing, clashing the three-dimensional form with the two-dimensional forms. There are many books about race cars, and there are some books about car designs, and there's many books about graphic design, but there's not one book about the graphic design of race cars. These cars, they are not well designed. They're not really perfect graphic, they're not perfect typography. There's so many mistakes on these cars, but they're just so cool.
In black mask wasted in weight of kills and full of mud. A stick snaps in the snow. They know, they glow in the dark.